All right, welcome back to In the Huddle here on Black Squirrel Radio. Got a couple more segments here with you tonight, and I guess I'll send it right back to Adam to continue with his life story.
Yeah, this is so crazy, and I appreciate you guys having me on, just rambling and rambling.
This is perfect, man. This is
great.
Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my god! And believe it or not, as I told you guys off air, since I've won, this is my first Kent interview, which is mind-boggling because. You know, in the corner of the studio is a copy of my Sports Illustrated. It's easier to get in Sports Illustrated, I think,
than it is to get onto Black Squirrel Radio
or TV2.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, and this is a lot of fun to talk about now because I want to focus the rest of the remainder of the show on the craziest parts of Brohio and how Kent State, in so many levels, not just the School of Journalism and Mass Communication, but just Greek life too, because. If you guys, a lot of people immediately like Governor Brohio. I bet he was in a frat, and I was always like the good guy. I'm like, I wasn't in a frat. I was in a fraternity. Like, get that straight.
Get it right.
Come on. So I was a Sigma Nu, which is nationally a big fraternity. You know,
Okay.
Al Michaels, Joe Buck,
Wow.
Bob Barker, Paul Rudd, Mr. Feeney.
Yes.
But also Dick Jacobs, as in the original name of Progressive Field, Jacobs Field.
Okay.
So with me being a videographer, the two Sigma Nus that meant a lot to me was obviously Dick Jacobs, and on the video side, Jeff Tremaine, who, for you who don't know, Jeff Tremaine is the director of Jackass.
Yeah.
Very, very, very successful two men. And, Dick Jacobs obviously was one of the greatest owners the franchise will ever see.
Absolutely.
God bless his soul.
Mm-hmm.
And if I ever am granted with a son in life, it will be named Jacob because obviously how much I love the Cleveland Indians and me being a proud Sigma Nu alum. It's a perfect name.
Absolutely.
But I did meet a lot of other Kent alum who is in the public eye, and Chad Zumock, who, if you guys know, very, very, very dedicated Kent alum, has a podcast of his own. And I was listening to it, and it was him and a guy from that metal show that's on VH1.
Yeah, that's what's up,
Dude, that's what I wished at first. And they didn't know Adam Gokowski, but they knew Governor Brohio, and they crucified me, dude. They absolutely made fun of me so much. And I'm not going to repeat any of the stuff they said, but the funniest thing was, it was when I first became governor, and I didn't want to get in trouble because I just got this Twitter account.
Yeah.
So I didn't want, and I've been very, very polite on Twitter, and, just kind of like any of the mean tweets that you'd see on like Jimmy Kimmel, that stuff is 100% true. Mm-hmm. People who don't know you will say anything, but if you put yourself out there, you're gonna get that. But so I stopped following Zumock because I didn't want to get in trouble. He noticed, and he immediately started tweeting, "Oh, Governor Brohio unfollowed me," blah blah blah, and I gave him the ultimate answer that he did not expect. I tweeted him a picture of me and him when I met him. And I said, Chad, I'm a Kent guy, go Tribe. That developed a friendship that between Zumock and I. We're like a professional friendship where he does stand-up comedy at Vosh in Lakewood. And I go and support him now. And we always, keep in touch and we hug it out every single time.
That's great.
So it was funny like how that worked of, being the nice guy won. Because, I could have said, and he wanted me to say some mean stuff back.
Oh, yeah.
No, he got, you know what, Zumock, I'm a fan of yours. Go Tribe. And it was that was very, very funny. And then, Polk had, he's known to have a bit of a bite to him, and he's a lot of fun, but that's his stick. And then you have Mike Polk Jr., who, both those guys, if you guys can ever have them on this show, do it.
All right.
Polk and Zumock, very, very funny guys, and Polk was the other way around. He was like the hugger, of the two. He was... When I first met him, I was walking in Edgewater Park, and they had some, polar bear jump is what they were doing, and I met him, and I told him who I was, and he knew immediately. And what kills me to this day, he goes, and I don't have anything, I don't know what to think of this, but he goes, are you going to spring training by chance? And I go, no, man, I'm not going to be able to make it. I've never been to spring training, believe it or not. Never, to this day. I would love to, and I would love to take my father, but never have. But, and I've never asked him, and I highly doubt, but a part of me, after seeing that hilarious video of him and Swisher, I'm like, wait a minute, was I going to have a cameo in that? Which, probably not, but just for the fact. But Polk, we keep in touch, too. Like, he's a very, very funny guy. And both those two, Zumock and Polk, it wouldn't shock me if we see him this week at homecoming.
Are you going to be at the game this weekend?
Yeah, the game depends because I do have Sigma Nu stuff to be at.
All right.
Because we have alumni brotherhood and barbecues and stuff like that. I would hope to stop by. That would be a lot of fun too. But the funny thing was a lot of the stuff that I learned from Brohio came from Kent, like I've been saying, and Brohio was very stand-up comic because I learned right away at opening day. Nobody knew who I was. They're like, oh, it's just some dude. And then I get a flag and then this cool jersey, but still, it was a learning process. There was growing pains behind it. And I turned it into like a stand-up routine every single day. Like, as I said, they sing somebody happy birthday or point somebody out and claim they're going to be buying the beer.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of fun stuff. Like I would pull a kid aside and have a kid help me get the crowd going and do chants for Kipnis or Michael Brantley or Swisher. And it worked. So every single time, every single weekend, I had a routine. Funny thing was, the first time I ever did stand-up comedy was at Delta Gamma Anchorman 2009, which Anchorman, Delta Gamma sorority, they have a charity event that goes to Service for Sight for seeing impaired.
Okay.
And I was nervous. I was 19 years old, terrified about doing this. And my fraternity brother's like, you're doing it. So, as I said, I've always wanted to be a stand-up comic or some sort of comedy, but that was my first go at it. And I was unbelievably terrified. That night, I'm talking like borderline puking nervous. And my God, I go on stage, I do my thing. I won the thing. And it's on Facebook. And that gave me the confidence to just do what I did. But Anchorman was one of those things where I was kind of like Governor, the first one to do it. So nobody knew what to make out. So I turned into like a chapter sweetheart, which for those who don't know what a chapter sweetheart is, it's fraternities have it, and it's a young girl for fraternities and a young man. And they're pretty much everyone's best friend. Girls tend to do a lot of the, bring cookies, and guys will help with like recruitment, moving couches and stuff like that. But it's kind of become a therapist too. You hear a lot about like jerk boyfriends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But all joking aside, I made a lot of great friends because I turned into something that nobody knew what it was. It's like I'm the first one. What am I going to do with it? And then with being Governor of Brohio, it really was once again something that I had to make out of it. So I was very, very, very active on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I rolled with the punches, man. I tweeted every single game. I tweeted people like yourself, and I was very engaging. Everything was positive because, especially in Cleveland sports, nobody wants to hear a crying baby.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear wah wah wah. People want to hear the good, and that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to bring a positive light to sports and to Cleveland and all that stuff. So it was an opportunity for me to do that. So very active on Twitter. Chris Pickle, Channel 3, Russ Mitchell of Channel 3, Mark Johnson of Channel 5, Andy Baskin, you two from In the Huddle, everyone.
That's right.
So many people, but the comedy side of it all came from here, all came from the school, and this is what drove me nuts when I haven't heard from Kent from TV2. I'm an alum of The Blurb on TV2.
Really?
Yeah, and it's funny because in 2009, I did it fall of 09 and fall of 10 because I'd get canceled personally in the spring of each year. Because, you would have the freshmen come on and they'd be very nervous about being on air right away. But then they'd get the confidence over Christmas break to come on, so there's too many spots. And I refused to audition because I never was good at reading a prompter. I didn't want to, give the news. All I wanted to do was go on and tell jokes.
Yeah.
So I was on the panel, which if it's the format as it used to be, it'd be kind of like Chelsea Handler, where you would have her, which was Lauren Mazza, who she hasn't been in school in quite a while. Great chick, but she's graduated a while back, and she was like the Chelsea Handler, and I was, one of the goofball comedians, and I would just go on and tell jokes. And I am still in the hunt for some of that footage. I can't find it. I don't know where to find it. But if you guys knew, and I'm gonna confess some stuff about Kent Media that I'm in. I was a main character on a children's television show shot here at Franklin Hall.
Really?
Oh, man.
It was called Tooneytown. Yeah. And I played Beat. And what we would do is teach lessons of life, I guess, and education through the sound of music. And I have zero musical skills. And the fun fact is, anybody in my family with musical skills, honest to God, are adopted. So we do not have it in our DNA to perform any music. And now I'm a main character on this children's show. And I don't remember why it didn't air. It's supposed to air on TV too, but I think it was like child labor law, like because there's children on the show, but for some copyrighted reason, because of the minors, it couldn't air. I don't know why, but but it's out here somewhere. And if you are listening to the show and associated with any mass communication, please find it. And some of my student projects, dude. I was on a show on a video. I was on two student movies that I was a part of in the class called Dorm Dad.
Okay.
Where it was me and a man named Tony Hartman, and I got to give him props, man. Tony's a great guy, and he's back and forth between Cleveland and LA now, and recently married. He was older. He was about 27 at the time, and I was 20. He played my father, and what the premise was of this show was how I would go off to college as a freshman, and to find out my father's my roommate. It was ridiculous nonsense.
Nice.
It was great comedy. For, in my eyes, because I would have my fraternity brothers in it. I always had my fraternity brothers in these projects, because just like any quote-unquote frat guy, we have egos. So we wanted to, hey, everyone, I'm in a movie. And there's another movie where two of my buddies gave up technology, and I was the jerk in the movie that would go up to them, I bet you guys can't be off your cell phones for 20 minutes, let alone 3 months. So it was ridiculous. But I see we're coming towards a break.
All right, yeah, so we just got to get one more quick live read in. Rob's going to take care of that.
Yeah, here we go. Hey, listeners, want to follow Black Squirrel Radio but not be considered a stalker? We have the perfect solution. Check us out on your favorite social networking sites and follow us at BSR Kent on Twitter and Instagram, or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Black Squirrel Radio. We always love a like, a comment, or a reply.
This is, it's fitting that we got the social networking there, because this is usually the part in the show where we pitch ourselves for a quick second on Twitter. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at NeeJack, Neee Jack, and then you can get the In the Huddle Twitter account at In the Huddle BSR.
You can follow me at DeFranco, DIFRANCO _Rob. And then,
Mr. Governor.
Yep.
And of course, follow at Brohio Gov for all your latest Brohio news.
That is right. That is right. He's got some good stuff out there, always up to the minute.
But I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, yeah.
Oh, I was just saying, social media is very powerful.
It really is.
And social media, and it's perfect that we're going to end talking about social media, because as I said, I'm very, 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 very active on Twitter. And I was interviewed by Sports Illustrated.
Yes.
And when I found out, the man named Mark Burchell tweeted at my old personal account and the Brohio account. He's like, hey, my name is Mark. I'm from Sports Illustrated. Please message me back. And you live your whole entire life in the sports market trying to, as a player, as an anchor, as anything, to be in that magazine.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't believe it. I'm like, there's no way. So, of course, I messaged the guy and said, hey, Mark, this is Adam. I added him and everything. And then I Google searched him. I'm like, there's no way. Oh, my God, there's no way.
This is happening.
And we did have, and so he calls me, very, very awesome guy. And he does this interview about Brohio, about Swisher, about the culture. He was originally from Cleveland, moved elsewhere, and wanted to do a story on Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, a lot of rumors about where's LeBron going to go. So I did a full interview. It was supposed to be a page and a half with my picture and everything, or at least a page. The moment LeBron came, my story went from picture to full page to just one article. But who else do you know with that? Exactly.
I mean, I haven't been in Sports Illustrated. I know Rob hasn't.
Oh, heck no.
But the beauty of it was, if I'm in any Sports Illustrated, I'm in the one that LeBron came back in.
Yeah.
Which I'm still mind-boggled with. And I actually met LeBron. I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say where I met him yet. But watch television soon, and all I'm going to say is Huddle. That's all the clues I can give you.
Okay.
Just keep watching your TVs and look for me on this thing.
Okay.
I can't say much.
All right.
But I met LeBron, and I snuck up to him, shook his hand, and gave 5 seconds. I'm like, LeBron, I was in your Sports Illustrated where you came back. Please read page 59. Bye. And he just took off like a child. But he was pretty cool. But talking about social media, it's very powerful because I accepted an ALS ice bucket challenge, like probably most people on this earth did.
Yeah.
And I wanted to really go big on it,
Go big or go home.
So I nominated my mother because, of course, anything involving her hair getting wet is funny.
Yes.
And a young boy whose father is a senior advisor of communications for the Indians. His young boy is a great kid, and Slider was another one. But the bonus one I did was John Kasich, Governor John Kasich, who's actually in an election right now. And my mom's like, no, there's no way he's gonna do this, no way. But what I did was I posted it, tagged him in it, and then I did one of the pick snatches, or what do they call it? The pick
stitch.
Yeah, pick stitch.
Yeah.
Of him, and then me dumping the water, and I'm like, retweet if you want Governor Kasich to do this. And people did. 9 o'clock, and this is the craziest week of my life. 9 o'clock at night, that Sunday, he tweets at me, I accept at Governor Brohio's ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yes.
I'm freaking out. I'm absolutely freaking out. And I'm telling everybody my Twitter's on fire and everything. But the next day, I had this publicity stunt all planned out where I rode on a mega bus for 3 nights to go see the Indians in Minnesota.
Wow.
Oof.
Dude, I still have to see a chiropractor. And I didn't want to tell anyone. I wanted to just, bam, here I am. And honestly, God, dude, I was so exhausted from this trip. Like, right out the gates, because I did not sleep well because I was so excited about Governor Kasich accepting my ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. I didn't tell my mother. I kind of told my dad. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even tell anyone from the Indians because I really wanted to shock them.
Yeah.
Because at first, I was kind of insecure if I'm doing a good job as governor. Like, what am I doing? And I really wanted to just do something big. So I do this challenge. I do the megabus trip, which I highly suggest to anybody never do this. My back still hurts.
Yeah.
And it was 4 trips because you have to go one ways. Mm-hmm. 4 trips total. 3 of them were paid for because I had bad experiences in the past. And grand total of me going to Minnesota and back, $22.50.
Look at that.
$22.50. And so I do this trip. I didn't tell anybody. The Indians, this woman comes up to me in Minnesota, asked me who I am. She was associated in Major League Baseball. She saw me holding the Brohio flag. Long story short, she did something with social media, and the Indians tweeted out the picture of me there, said, at Brohio Gov, traveled all this way on a mega bus, and it said it took forever, quote-unquote forever. My mom found out I was in Minnesota then. Furious.
Oh, boy.
No, this actually gets worse. So mad. She goes outside, complains about me to my dad. He's in trouble because he knew. Mm-hmm. Goes outside, complains to me to the neighbor, goes in the garage, and slips and dislocates her shoulder. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. So I find out the next day, and I'm feeling pretty guilty. And in my trip because I had to go, Monday was all day in Chicago, slept on the bus, Minnesota, slept on the bus after the game, and we went back to Chicago, and then went back to Cleveland after. So that Wednesday, I slept on my cousin's couch in Chicago just for a nap, and I called my mom, and she's highly medicated, and I've never been screamed at like this. She's like, Adam, you gotta get home. You gotta leave your cousins alone. You can't just be using them for their couch. And I mean, she was furious, dude. She was furious. Mom, I love you, but you were angry, and I mean, rightfully so.
Oh, yeah.
Finds out I'm in Minnesota when she woke up that morning thinking I was in Lakewood, Ohio, and finds out and goes to bed with a dislocated shoulder, knowing that I'm wandering the Midwest in Minnesota. Oh my gosh, she was furious.
Now that is, I want to just jump in here real quick because there is one question I definitely wanted to ask you. You know, you're saying you've been to 12 different ballparks other than Progressive Field, Jacobs Field.
Yeah.
12
total including.
12 total including. So which one is your favorite outside of Cleveland?
Oh, dude, for sure, Baltimore.
Really? Camden Yard?
Oh my God, gorgeous, dude, gorgeous. And there's 2 stories that I'm gonna wrap up very fast on. And that includes the ballpark. Well, the one includes the ballpark, and it's actually almost the 8th anniversary of a Twinsburg man named Jeff Neubauer. And Jeff Neubauer passed away due to terminal cancer in 2006. And long story short, somehow, grace of God, his family found me during this campaign through an old article that I wrote about him. Mm-hmm. And they had no idea about the campaign until I told them. But years and years back, I decided to finish off his ballpark tour because he hit 26 out of 30 in the summer of 2006 and died right before he had World Series tickets in St. Louis.
Oh.
Man, it's been a huge inspiration. And the reason why I'm connected to this guy is because I filmed his last public speech on a Friday night in Twinsburg during a football game. I was injured, and believe it or not, I played football, and there's your joke of the day. But I filmed his speech, patted him on the back, and he was gone 5 days later.
Wow.
So I was very tied emotionally to this man's journey with baseball, and his family found me, and that is why and they loved it, and they supported me so much, and even this day. So his 8th anniversary of his death is coming up, and he was a very cool guy, and that's why I dedicated my ballpark trip to him. But to answer your question, definitely Baltimore. That was a very, very cool one.
That's great. That's awesome. And you hear all these stories of people that are going and hitting all 32 or 30. I can, even for a sports guy, I always flip-flop those two. But yeah, that's great.
The catch is I will only go for the Indians.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I will only go
though.
for them. And yeah, I mean, God, I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. I wish your show was 45 hours.
Yeah, that would be, because I know I could sit here and listen to this all day because this is fantastic.
It's crazy, and I want to just say one last story, for 3 minutes, and then we can wrap the show up with some other stuff. But if that's cool,
yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
So an icon, as I said, I was a huge fan of Jackass, and I've been a big fan of Steve-O for a very, very, very long time, and I had Steve-O tickets because I did a Megabus trip before. Actually, twice before. In summer 2012, I went to Fenway and I went to St. Louis. And I actually planned my trip around the Indians and Steve-O, and the show got canceled in Cleveland, yeah. Show gets canceled. I'm like, oh my God. But at least I have a funny story.
Yeah.
Next year, so 2013, I was going to go to Steve-O live in Pittsburgh. Canceled.
Oh my God.
Canceled again. And I'm devastated because the thing is with Steve-O, funny personality. I think he's the funniest man on earth. I loved his attitude towards video production. And honestly to God, I went to quote unquote to be a jackass in college, and that's why I have the degree in, because I was so highly motivated by the show Jackass, because their attitude towards video production. I mean, they went from being goofball skateboarders to being Academy Award nominated with Bad Grandpa. But Steve-O was always my favorite, and it was like it was meant to be. Last week, I saw Steve-O live in Toledo, and he's the coolest. He is the coolest because he will take pictures with every single fan of his after the show on his own camera, and then he'll post it on on his website, so you can post on social media. But I wrote Steve-O this whole long letter about being such an inspiration to me in the field. And I gave him a copy of my Sports Illustrated and a Brohio shirt, and he was very cool. I don't know if he's ever read it. I never heard back, but he took it.
Yeah.
And he was very, very humble about it, very cool. And he's like, oh, thanks, man. Yeah, dude. But he was very, very cool, and that's a picture I posted it's my current Facebook picture, and I framed it because Steve-O was pretty much the same scenario as me to some degree. Obviously, he went a completely different path in life to some degree, but he's been clean for 7 years, and God bless anybody who's changed their life.
Absolutely.
But he's been so awesome, and he did the same. Like what he is to me was what Motley Crue was to him, and he did the same song and dance. He followed Motley Crue and eventually met in 1987, when he was 13, met Nikki Sixx and Tommy Lee, and it was cool just to say to the person who inspired me to get into video production, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be in Sports Illustrated.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve-O. And it was very, very cool. Great guy.
Yeah, and he seems like a great guy, and just a great guy to be around, and an overall great.
He loves
person.
his fans, and,
yeah.
and it was. I learned a lot just about social media with taking pictures with people in the section and having them post and retweeting and responding because of stuff he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I gotta tell you, and we are about to run out of time here, but we got a couple more minutes. And, having Adam here, I had a whole big list of questions here, and I gotta tell you, he hit about every one of them without me having even to ask. So this was it was a great time having him. But there was one more that I wanted to get in. Obviously, Brohio is all Swisher and designed by him, and you are the governor of that. So other than Swisher, who's your favorite player right now and then of all time?
I'm going to give you 3 names total.
Okay.
I'm going to say all-time, childhood, and now. Bob Feller, who I have met.
Really?
Yeah, I was lucky to meet him at a Goodwill. My father saw that he was doing a signing at Goodwill in 1999 or 8. I think it was 9. Typical Bob Feller. Cranky old man, but God bless him. Great guy. And there's a photo somewhere I got to still find. All-time, childhood, for sure, Jim Thome.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Steve-O was the second person I wanted to meet behind Thome. And, yeah, Thome for sure, dude. I mean, 600-plus home runs. Statue.
So I'm assuming you were pretty excited when he came back for that year?
Dude, I've cried twice in that park. The 2007 clincher, and when he hit his first home run back, the second game he was back, I sobbed. Not because I saw a home run. I see 100 home runs. It's because I saw my version of Superman fight one more crime. When you thought you would never see it again. You never thought you would see Jim Thome hit a home run for the Cleveland Indians ever again. And it happened, and I was there to see it. I sobbed.
That's incredible.
Sobbed. Yeah. But current roster besides Swisher, got to go with the doctor, man.
That's right. Absolutely.
Smoothest brother in the hood, man. Just Cleveland loves him.
And he loves Cleveland.
Oh, my God, dude. And he's very humble. Very humble. And number 23, man.
Yeah.
Everybody loves number 23 in Cleveland.
I'd tell you, and I don't think anyone was expecting him to go off on the tear that he did. You know, I mean, obviously he was a solid player, but, you know, coming out and just...
I think one person expected it, and that person will never admit it because it's him. Yeah, you pointed in my direction. No, dude. We all know he's great, but I think he knew he was that good.
Yeah.
But he's too classy to admit that. And that's why he's Dr. Smooth, man.
Yeah, he's, you know, a great guy, and, you know, hopefully he can produce that again this year and, you know, get us a bit farther, because obviously, you know, after the wild card 2 years ago, hoping to get back to that, but, you know...
Dude, baseball is a wild ride.
It really is. And you know, and you look at I was just checking the school. Royals are up right now, or at least last I checked. So
Really?
they could be going for that 4-game sweep. You know, haven't lost a single game yet this postseason.
It's been a Kansas City cakewalk so far, man.
It had I mean I kind of thought the Royals might take it, but certainly not in 4 games. Like,
And
what is
especially
this?
against Mike Trout.
Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's baseball, America's pastime. Easily my favorite sport, especially opening day, best day of the year.
I love it.
And again, we're just about out of time here, so it was just an absolute joy to have you on today. Thank you so much for doing this.
Dude,
Yeah,
no problem. As
thanks,
I
man.
said, man, this is my first Kent interview since I won. It's easier to get in Sports Illustrated than it is to get on Black Squirrel or TV2.
All right, well, and again, we're glad we could be your first interview back at Kent. I was about to say something else, but let's anyway, first interview back at Kent. Let's stick with that. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for us here today on In the Huddle on Black Squirrel Radio. I am Jack Opansky.
I'm Rob DeFranco.
And I'm Adam, the governor of Brohio.
That's right, and we will see you next week on Black Squirrel Radio.